wanted to be a bank robber.
Did you rob that bank?
We'll find out. We'd say this is a bank robbery, no tracers, no dye pads.
Mr. Shear, are you guilty?
We'll find out.
Who's we?
Just me. In my head, I always had just somebody to talk to. I've named this second person me Mad Dog. I've robbed a bank, and I know there's dogs on my trail. And I come to a cliff, and nobody can climb this, dude. So I get to it, and I can remember Mad Duck saying, "Good luck, Rambo." So as I fell off the rocks, I looked down, and there's a speeding Amtrak below me. Matthew Cox, have you ever heard of the Summer of Love?
Yeah.
Everybody has, right? 1967. My story starts shortly after that. I call it the Winter of Hate. I was born in 67, 3 days after Christmas. Came home to a small farmhouse. It was my three sisters, my brother, my mom, and my grandmother. Dad is part Indian, came back from World War II, fighting the Japanese, started a family, left, came back, put me in the oven, and now has gone for good. He's no longer in the story. So I grew up just being raised mostly by my grandmother and my sisters because my mom works all the time. And let me tell you a childhood story. So I was about 7 years old. I was going to be Casper. My brother says, "You can go with the big boys on Halloween." So I go out with them. I said, "There's a house." They go, "Don't worry about it." I said, "There's a house." They go, "Don't worry about it." So we get to the top of a hill, and there's an old maple, and there's a branch that goes out, and they take my my costume, and the other boys already have a small scarecrow made. And so they put the costume on it, and they're going to swing it out so somebody thinks they've killed a child. It's Halloween, trick or treat, right? So I get to go under the fence and get a head start, and that's exactly what they do. And from then on, you know, if I wasn't being chased, it wasn't a good Halloween. Yeah.
That's a horrible story. Okay.
Yeah, we also had, we didn't, but our neighbors always had snowmobiles and motorcycles, so we would play hide-and-go-seek snowmobile or hiding. And one of my earliest memories is just running for my life while two 16-year-olds on a snowmobile would come up, and the kid on the back would slap you. And we had, they also had field cars, so we would get these cars and just drive them around the field. So I got used to being chased and having just a higher, I don't know.
Higher what?
It would take a lot for me to get interested in it.
Okay.
You know, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to watch TV. I don't play video games. I was always outside doing stuff. And so as this progresses, you know, this is the late 60s, 70s. There's every weekend, the same movies are on. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Remember Butch? Yeah, I love
Okay,
Butch
so
Cassidy.
you also
Colby
remember
doesn't know which Butch
Jeremiah Johnson, right?
Colby doesn't know what Butch Cassidy and Sundance.
Well, he's got something to do tonight.
Yeah.
Watch this movie.
Yeah,
It
it's
changed
great.
my life.
It's great.
It put it down the toilet, but it still changed my life.
I'll add it to the list.
Yeah, absolutely. And so then there's Jeremiah Johnson and the Long Riders. So that's why I was going to show you this one. By this age right here, I already knew I wanted to be a bank robber. Okay? So this is the car I had to make myself because I didn't have Pa helping me.
Yeah.
And you can see I didn't get a lot of first place. I think I got one, and the rest are just third place. So we're an independent, you know? We know the cavalry's never coming. We're always going to have to take care of ourselves. Okay? So childhood goes on. We're always getting in and out of a little trouble, always being chased, whether we're hitting cars with snowballs, apples, just anything. So at 16, 17, I take my parents' car because it's snowing, and they would both go to work in the same car. So I take the car, I break it, I get caught, I get sent to...
You break it? You mean wrecked it?
Yeah, well, it was a K car, and it had front-wheel drive. So the only way I could get it to do donuts was in reverse. So when I was doing donuts, I slid off the concrete, and it hit...
How old are you?
16.
Oh, of course. Okay.
And so both hubcaps go flying in the air, and I broke the axle. So me and my friends, we pushed it back up to the house. I took the snowblower, I covered it, and then when my mom got home, I redug it out, and then she got in and shook to shit. And so, yeah, I got caught on that.
Oh, okay.
So
thought
I
you were gonna
guess-
say, what happened to the car?
It
Mom.
went to Brewster's garage, and Brewster's are the ones that would have the junk cars and the snowmobiles and stuff. So that car never turned into a field car, but the local garage guys, their kids always had the field cars that we rode in.
Okay.
So I go to Florida, go to my sister's house for a couple weeks, months, just to cool out, and I'm only there a couple of days, and my sister says, there's a construction site down at the end of the road. Why don't you go see if you can get a part-time job? Well, I've always been a worker. I've been working on a farm since I was 13. So I go, I get a job, and it's mostly going out into the swamp, picking up insulation and stuff that's blown off the roofs. But one day they say, hey, man, the space shuttle's going to be launched. Why don't you come on up on the roof? And so I go up on the roof, and there's like 5 radios that I could hear, but there was... these Florida apartment complexes are enormous. And so we're sitting up there, we're waiting, and at our 10 o'clock position, there's a structure fire. It looks like it's 20 miles away or something. You can see it billowing up, and we're waiting. And all of a sudden, every single radio goes, the space shuttle blew up, the space shuttle blew up. That smoke that I thought was like 20 miles away was actually the space shuttle many, many miles away.
Right.
So... after that happens, I go back to my sister's house. Everything cools down. I go back to New York, and I basically get in some trouble again for criminal trespassing. But you could get out of it if you joined the Army. So I joined the Army. I called my brother, said, I'm in trouble again. I'm going to join the Army and get out of it. We all knew I was going to the Army. He says, okay, join as a medic. First of all, I'm really not the killer type. And medics can transfer wherever they want. So I go in the Army. I come back as a medic. I was sent to the 345th Combat Support Hospital. Now, this is the National Guard that I've joined. When I was in Florida, there's a base not far from my sister's house called Camp Blandon. And they had 20th Group Special Forces there. So I went back to Florida, and I went and spoke with them to see if I could join. And... I got a slot in there as a backup medic, providing I completed jump school and air assault school, and it had a list of things. So I moved to Florida, and when even though I joined 3rd Battalion, 20th Group Special Forces, Company D, out of Camp Blandon, Florida. And one of the first jobs they give me is at CSMS. And what that does is it tests rifles, pistols, and machine guns would come in, saws. And I would look at them, make sure nothing was broken, take them apart, make sure nothing was broken, put them back together, run a rod through them to make sure the barrel, and then put them in a bin. At the end of the week, we would test fire everything in the bin. So, as the months go by, you're firing just thousands and thousands of rounds. And, you're just super good with a gun. I mean, to this day, when it comes to a pistol or a rifle, I'm a super good shot, okay? I can hit a bowling ball with a 1911 at 75 yards. You won't know what that means, but your viewers will. Some of them will be, yeah. And I'm not saying I'm a good shot because I'm a good person. I'm saying I'm a good shot because I shot for many, many years free.
Right.
It's my job to do that. So Desert Storm comes, 91. I didn't really take it serious till I found out my mom was flying down. And, my mom would only fly down if she thought I was probably going to die to say goodbye,
Right.
So she flies down. I go off to Desert Storm. I go to Camp America in Fort Bragg, okay? I don't have any good war stories. I do have one war story for you with a little bit of proof because it's so crazy you're not going to believe me.
Okay.
All right, so I'm at Fort Bragg at a place called Camp America. I'm getting ready to go to selection. That's Special Forces Advanced Selection. It's about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. There's 3 of us. Kevin's in charge. We're out for a long walk, a ruck march. And we're moving fast and quiet, but we're not hiding or anything. And we're unfamiliar with this area. So we're taking a road, and I knew the road was closed because you could see how gravel was growing up. And there's a compound up ahead. And we're trucking along, and I know we pick up a tail. somebody's following us. Because we're on a road, we can move a lot faster than them. They're good, but they're still making a little noise. So I go to Kevin. I say, man, I think we're being followed. What are we going to do about it? Whatever, it's probably just me. So I see this compound up ahead, and finally the road stops. But we are right up against the fence of this compound where we can look in the window. Almost. If somebody walked by the window. So we're way too close. So I say, hey, what compound is that? He says, that's the Delta Force compound. I said, that's the Delta Force compound. So it's got to be a Delta Force guy that's probably following us, correct?
Right.
All right, so this is 1991. And this joke isn't going to go over well, but a lot of people don't. The movie 300 hadn't come out.
Okay.
And these guys aren't big readers I'm with. So they don't know that the Spartans had mandatory homosexual acts in their training. And they really did.
Right. I don't think that was in the movie.
No, that was missed too. So I walk up to the tree line where I think the guy is to see if I can get him so pissed off that he'll break his cover and beat me on. I say, hey, Kevin, I heard Delta Force is trained like the Spartans. He says, yeah, absolutely. I said, well, they're homosexuals, dude. And I go into a 2 or 3 minute tirade on how, Delta Force is obviously bisexual. I'm not against bisexuality. I'm just calling it for what it is. That's how you train these. Finally, I'm told to shut the F up. We put on our gear. We leave. I go exactly 9 feet because it's burned in my memory, and a little piece of metal hits where I was standing. Now, I knew somebody had thrown something at me, but Kevin actually thought it was a pin of a grenade. He finally said, I thought your New York mouth had finally got us killed. Now, I apologized to the Delta Force guy if he was there, and we went on our way. Okay, so Desert Storm, I don't do anything. Wars.
Do you go to Kuwait?
No, I don't do anything.
They don't fly you over there.
7 months. This is how I lived for 7 months. Every day they said, you're leaving tomorrow. Don't worry about getting anything. You're going to leave tomorrow. 7 months. The worst thing about it is it's old-fashioned porn. You see where my bed is? My company commander would sit there for hours watching porn. I couldn't do anything. But that's war. War is hell.
You did.
I never did anything.
You didn't even go over there.
No, I never did anything.
Okay.
You don't get to pick.
Right.
I would have loved to go, and then I would have some cool stories. Nothing. So we go back to Florida, and I get out of the Army. I think Clinton took office, and he said anybody that had already done their 4 years can get out. And even though I was in the National Guard, I'd been in there for 4 years, and I'd re-up. So I have a chance to get out. So I get out. I moved to Texas where my brother owns a tree business. I work a year with him, get good with a chainsaw. I moved to upstate New York where I'm going to build a log cabin. I find out that's going to cost a lot of money. So I become a registered nurse. I go to Maria College for 2 years. I get my nursing degree. By that time, something had changed in me, and I decided I would go to Alaska. There's tons of towns like this, completely preserved.
And what is abandoned?
Yeah, it's just abandoned. I drive out to Alaska, and I set up a camp on the Homer Spit. And I take a job. The first job I got was unloading fish out of a boat. Now, I thought that these were going to be normal fish. They're not. These are halibut and tuna. They weigh like 200 or 300 pounds. You got to put them in a net. So I lasted one boat, and then I got a job at Subway making sandwiches. Yeah, well, it's easy. While I'm doing that, I had set up a cool camp, and a rich guy who owned... So I set this up on Homer Spit, and there's a dude in a van just staring at me for like 45 minutes. So finally I walk over to him. I say, what's the deal? And he says, look, he asked me my deal. I say, I'm a nurse. I came out here to, become a nurse, build a secret log cabin and all that. He says, I own a place. He owned Great Alaska Fish Camp and Safaris. He asked me if I'm any good with a gun. I say, you bet. So I get a job as a bear guide. What? Yeah. At Lake Clark National Park. And can you see those claw marks? These bears were enormous, 1,200 pounds and stuff. This one's just the claws. And what's funny is my camp at Bear Camp looks exactly like the place I lived in the Army.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. So I do that for a summer. When that ends, I get a job on Wrangell Island as a nurse. But they have a program where if you pass all these classes, it was neonatal recessive course, a couple of advanced cardiac courses, and an advanced trauma course. So I complete those and I become a flight nurse. Now, I would fly from Wrangell Island to either Juneau or Sitka, depending on what somebody needed. I never landed at an accident and jumped out and saved the person. I flew, like one guy was, Mr. Crabtree was a GI bleed, so he needed to go to an actual hospital. So I would just be in the aircraft with him. I do that for a year, but I had an incident at the Bear Camp, just one incident, and it wasn't even that dangerous. But it put the fear of God in me when it comes to these bears because...
They're not soft and cuddly.
No, and you can't really stop them. That was the first time in my life where people told me, well, okay, you can shoot it, but... You know, usually like if they shoot it and it falls dead, they're like, well, what kind of gun you got and how many shots do you got? And so I'm told that even if you shoot them through the heart, they still got 45 seconds.
Right.
I don't want that in my woods.
Right.
I smoke too much pot. I can't be paying attention like that. Plus, the one thing in Alaska that drove me crazy is every time you go to the field, you have to make noise. And that just goes against you got to bang pots and ring bear bells and stuff just to keep these things away from you. So I give up on that. And I come back to New York, and I find some property, and I'm starting to build a secret cabin. So this happens in 1999. 2000 comes. 2001 comes. In those 2 years, I built my cabin. It's 2001. I decide to get a job out of state as a traveling nurse so I can make a bunch of money and finish the inside house. And I used restoration hardware. I had artists come in and paint. So I'm there, and 9/11 happens. So I go to 9/11. I was actually I'll tell you the whole story. I was at my this apartment I had rented, and I knew 2 planes had hit, and I went and got coffee, and I came back, and they fell. Well, it had been hit once before, and so they had a plan if it got hit again, okay? And I knew about that plan. You saw the picture of the 13 ambulances?
Right.
So I knew when those buildings fell, they don't have any more EMTs. That's a wrap. Everybody was there. So I just put on my uniform. I drive as close as I can, and then I showed my trauma ID to a police officer, and he put me in the back of the car, and he drove me up to the first ring. There was actually 2 rings around Ground Zero. One was police, and the other one was National Guard. And I cannot remember which one was first, but I walked through one, and then I showed my ID, and then I walked through the other. So I get to Ground Zero, and nobody's hurt. I mean, the only sound is just paper, man. Just millions and millions of pieces of paper. There's no sirens. There's really not a lot of people. You saw some of those. I mean, for hours, there was just not a lot of people around. So before I had exited my car, I'd taken one sock and filled it with $20 bills, and then I'd taken Snickers, something I wish I'd done this morning, and put them in my second sock so I would have food because I knew I was going into a mess. So there was a 7-Eleven, and these firemen were going in and out and taking equipment and stuff, flashlights, stuff like that. So I did lay $20 down. I'm not a looter. And I took that camera, and I took those pictures that I've showed you, and they are on my Instagram account. I only took those pictures because there's nobody to help. You understand? Mm-hmm. Okay. So I'm going to tell you the worst 9/11 story. So there was an intersection, and further down the intersection where it was kind of cleared out, there was something blinking, a sparkling thing. And so I kept going, and ding, ding, ding. And it's an arm. It's a woman's arm from here down. And every single finger had at least 3 rings on it, even her thumb. And then they were all silver. She had a huge diamond. Her pinky had all that too. Then she had approximately 13 to 15 silver bracelets. And she had a charm bracelet. And you could tell that she had gotten something for like Easter, Christmas, and a birthday.
Right.
By the charms. And it was a money charm. This woman was, I call her a princess. In my book, I wrote, it's called The Princess's Arm. She was beautiful, man. Her skin was tan. She had those little fine gold hairs. So I thought about picking it up. But then, like, you know, what? Go ahead.
This is just an arm.
Yeah, this is just an arm. And I almost overlooked something. Everything is covered in gray. You saw the photos.
Yeah.
The arm's not. The arm looks like it's alive. It's golden, dude. It's tan golden. How do you think that arm wasn't covered with dust? There's only 2 ways.
Someone placed it there later.
Right? Or, yo, man, it must have been blown so high up in the ground that after all the dust settled, it came down. Nobody moved that arm, dude. There was nothing like that happen. That's the only thing I can think, dude. Can you think of anything else?
No.
Me either. So I thought about picking it up, but there was no place to carry it. And then, I don't know, crazy thoughts start going through your head. Like, you know, if you pick that up, you're going to know how long that weighs for the rest of your life. And then how do you really carry an arm? Should I grab it like in a handshake and whip it out, you know? Fucking
Right.
never carried an arm. I've seen a lot of dead bodies. I've never actually carried pieces of them. So I left it there, and I will always feel a little bit like a piece of shit for that. And
Well, I'm
I
not
don't know.
sure you can walk around or should be walking around with an arm anyway. They used to, you know.
Like, where am I going to, I'm in scrubs.
It's not like you were going to bring
I'm going to put it in a
yeah.
bag. And there was more pieces. What am I going to start out collecting them?
You're talking about just picking it up and getting out of the street.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm
like
think-
everybody would think that.
Yeah, because in my mind, I'm thinking the value of the rings or something.
No.
Yeah.
I think-
There's no money. For me, it's funny. I was in a jewelry store. Money was,
That's where I thought the story was
yeah.
going.
Oh, no, I never even thought of money.
No, you should think about picking it up and
Doing
yeah,
something.
doing-
It's,
but what are you going to do?
the
There's-
family could have identified her with that.
Which I'm sure they did.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
wasn't your job. Your job's to try and
Help
find
people,
find
right.
People
Everybody's-
that are alive that are helpable.
Right, exactly.
Helpable, a word, whatever.
It is now. Matthew Cox says it is.
No.
It just made me want to go to sleep. That's your break.
If you sleep hot at night, you know how disruptive that can be. Whether you're having trouble falling asleep, you're waking up sweating in the middle of the night, or all of the above, that's where GhostBed can help. As the makers of the coolest beds in the world, GhostBed is your go-to for cooling mattresses, cooling pillows, and cooling bedding. From their signature Ghost Ice fabric to patented technology that adjusts to your body's temperature, every Ghost Bed mattress is designed with cooling in mind. So whether you want a plusher mattress that cushions your shoulders and hips, or a firm option with exceptional support, your Ghost Bed will keep you cool and comfortable all night long. When you purchase a Ghost Bed mattress, your comfort is guaranteed. You can try out your mattress for 101 nights, risk-free, to make sure it's the right fit for you. Plus, they offer free shipping, and most items are shipped within 24 hours. If you're not sure which Ghost Bed is right for you, check out their mattress quiz. You'll answer a few questions and get a personalized recommendation. Even better, our listeners can get 50% off site-wide for a limited time. Just visit ghostbed.com/Cox and use the code COX at checkout. Again, that's ghostbed.com/Cox with the code COX at the checkout to save a whopping 50% off site-wide.
From 2002 to 2008, the only thing I can mention is that I did go to Czechoslovakia and East Germany and Germany with a friend that I'd met in Special Forces camp. I was a private contractor in, that's what it looks like over there. That's what Czechoslovakia looks like.
Yeah, it's depressing.
Yeah, and then so I was a private contractor with General Amabeo. I'm not going to tell you the story where when he ate the German Shepherd, but what I will tell you is that dog is terrible. It's white and stringy. There, don't eat dog. So now what? Now we're going to get to the true crime. Finally. God. So it's 2008. I'm working at Bedford Hills Correctional Facility.
You're working there?
Yeah, I'm working there.
Oh,
I've also,
nice.
this whole time I'm working as a traveling nurse. I'd also worked at Great Meadow Maximum Security Correctional Facilities. I worked at quite a few New York State correctional facilities as an agency nurse. That's all. I'm not a state worker, and that's going to come in handy. So I'm down in Bedford Hills. I'm working 16-hour shifts. I'm giving money for for room and board, but I don't use it. I have a pickup truck, so I park the pickup truck way in back, and I just sleep in the back of it, right? So that's what I'm doing. And a girl, really, 21-year-old correctional officer who I had worked with parked out there. And this dude, I didn't know it at the time, but he was a lieutenant off-duty guy, pulled up and decided that he wanted some of that. And so I'm listening to this outside my car, and finally he just puts his hands on her. So I had a German entrenching tool, and I get out, and I'm going to save the girl, and he looks at me, and I knew that he either had a gun in his waist or ankle. So if he pivoted for one of those, you just break their collarbone. And when you fight with a German a tool like that, you break the collarbone, and then you go around later and clean up. But you got to break that collarbone first. He doesn't. He pivots and runs right for his car. So I take the girl, I put her in my truck, and I drive to a hotel. I put her in a room, and I sleep on the floor because I'm just wore out. And I feel like I really need to mention this. Starting in 2000, I had started taking narcotics while building my cabin. I'd cut a tree and it hit another tree. I'd hurt my back. I'd gone to the VA and they had prescribed me Vicodin. Over this 7-year period, that has now skyrocketed. So now I'm getting 240 Class A narcotics mailed to me from the VA. They mail them to in a little box. Can I say the names, or were they?
Well, narcotics.
Painkillers. Painkillers. Okay. So we have a major drug problem. That's going to be super important. To that. Okay, so I get out, I grab the girl, I save the girl, I'm a hero. The next morning, I go back, I drop her off, I go back to my cabin, turn off my phone. Well, 7 people had watched this go down. They didn't get involved because this dude is, a lieutenant. But like I said, I'm just agency. I don't care about that. Plus, I'm not going to have you putting your hands on girls around me. I was raised by women. So I come back, 7 people rat me out. I have to go see the superintendent. His secretary is a beautiful young Irish girl. I give a bullshit story. He knows it's a bullshit story because I don't really want to rat this guy out, even though he's a dick. I can't just rat somebody out. But he's been ratted out so much that I have to do it. Well, over the period of me writing and rewriting this, I'm using his secretary. So this girl is writing all this down, and I just seem like a hero, right? Jump out of the truck and stuff. So this girl falls in love with me. And I like her too. I love her too, right? So also at that time, while I was a traveling nurse, I was not straight and narrow with my taxes. No, I just didn't pay them.
Right.
I needed to finish this cabin. And America didn't seem broke, so I didn't even really think they needed it.
Right.
So I don't pay. So I have $11,000 in my account. They take it. I can't have that, dude. I'm going to need that back.
Right.
So that's where the true crime comes in. I brought up this other stuff, so...
It's really the government's fault. They put you in this position.
Absolutely. First they get me high as fuck, then they take all my money, and they're like, well, you're acting like a maniac on... Yeah, because you gave it to me.
Right.
But, so you understand I'd had the training. I'm good with a gun. I'm a loner. I didn't think robbing banks was a very big step for me. My sister is a bank manager here in Florida, Green Cove Springs. And she had told me everything. Not like because I was going to rob a bank, but because I'm around my sister. I'm always asking her questions. So we were familiar with banks. We've traveled all through Connecticut, all through New York, from all the way from Great Meadow down to Bedford Hills. So we know a lot of banks. Because when we worked remotely, we would stay there and then we'd get the check and we'd go to the local bank and cash it.
Right.
So I know a bunch of good banks. Good with a gun.
Banks aren't hard to find. Yeah.
No, not at all. You're right on that. So when I decided to become a bank robber, because I was a professional soldier, because I was a registered professional nurse, of course, when I go into bank robbing, I'm going to try to do it professionally. Rule number 1, don't get anybody hurt. Nobody really hates bank robbers unless somebody gets hurt, you know? And then the ABCs are A, always leave with the money. B, better them than you if the shooting starts. And C, can't fix your mistakes. Get them right the first time. I'm not a career criminal, and I do not think it's okay to be a bank robber. That said, you know, it's a good story, so we're going to tell it. So we'll start off. I'll tell you 3 bank robbery stories. If you want more, I'll tell you more. But these, a lot of times, a bank job is really nothing more than a withdrawal with hard feelings and hard stares. I mean, they'll stare at you like, boy, they're going to get you. That's all it really is. But there's a couple that stand out. So this would have been Operation Grasshopper. What I would do is I would let my wife pick a place in the world to go, and then I'm going to rob that bank, and we're going to go there.
You're married?
Yeah.
This is to the lieutenant,
actually,
secretary.
you know what? This is
You just
to
said
this,
you fell in love.
Yeah. I got married. Actually, during Operation Grasshopper, I was not married. Later, she would tell me this is the trip that made her fall in love with me. I don't see how, but so I'm gonna go get that money back. Remember?
Yeah.
So this is Operation Grasshopper, named after in Amsterdam. There's a Bavarian steakhouse called the Grasshopper. You need to go there. So here's the plan. Operation Grasshopper. Okay, so the bank's on the corner. There are some imperative things about robbing a bank. One of the main things is, of course, don't hurt anybody. And number 2 is they must not see the vehicle you leave in, unless you have like a drop card. And I didn't have all that.
Right.
So I'm going to leave an area. When I leave the bank, I'll have an open area. If anybody's following me and wants to be a hero, you know, we could put rounds over their head or whatever, scare them off. I go into this bank, you know, I show you how we kind of did it. So this would have been the note. We'd do it kind of like this. And then we'd slam the 45 down because it's loud. We'd say, this is a bank robbery, no tracers, no die packs. Do your job and you'll have a cool story to tell your friends on Facebook. Fuck around and you will be the story. But this is going to happen.
Who's we?
Oh, yeah. Just me, but oh man, I've missed so much because I was nervous and stuff. So being always by myself and stuff, I had a best friend in my head and stuff. And so, yeah, unfortunately, I am my own best friend. So just because there wasn't always kids to play with. So I would watch these movies and then I would go out and play. And in my head, I always had just somebody to talk to. Later, when I was a bear guide, I went to the Talkeetna Bluegrass Festival. I was supposed to go with another guide, but he didn't make it. So I go by myself. I'm all pissed off. There's an Indian there. He's selling mushrooms. So I go to him. Say, can I buy some mushrooms? But I don't have any friends. Can I sit here? I had a case of beer. And I said, you can have as many beers as you want if I can just, trip here. And he said, absolutely. I later named him Chief 10 Beers. And so he's talking to this girl and we're taking the mushrooms and we're tripping all that. And he's giving her an Indian name. So I said, hey, I want an Indian name. And he just looked at me and said, Mad Duck. And went right back to the girl. So for narrative purposes and for book and maybe just sanity, I've named this second person me Mad Duck. So it would be, I'm Butch Cassidy, he's the Sundance. So maybe because I didn't have a dad or somebody there, I just got this made up person I could become in tight situations. Kind of like my own Calvary in my head.
Okay.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Sure it does. You're locking the door after I leave. No. Oh, so when I'll always speak in the third person. We. And that when I
Right.
say we, I mean me and Mad Duck. And that's another voice in my head that's always talking. So we get in the vehicle. Me and Mad Duck, I turn on the radio. I actually had it set up. I was using Mariah Carey Fantasy, just cool down. I had a plan all tracked out. I jump in the vehicle. We go through some evergreens where it opened up. Boom, at my 2 o'clock position is a sheriff. He has no lights on, not even his regular lights on.
Have you already robbed the bank?
Yeah, this is less than a minute from robbing the bank. So I don't know if the road is a T or whatever. I know instantly we're going to drive by each other. And I remember Mad Duck saying either that's not possible or that's impossible. You've read the book The Secret.
No. But I understand.
You understand.
Yes.
Okay, so the Army is going to teach you something similar. You're going to go in with a positive attitude.
Right.
You're not going to go into combat or robbing a bank like, man, I sure hope this works out.
Yeah.
Because it's not.
Right.
So I had, once I went into that bank, I don't know, I just knew it was going to be okay. I didn't do that on the bank. Once I leave, then I'm just a regular person. I don't have my made up superpowers anymore.
Right.
So here's this cop, man, and I didn't freeze. I compared to those dogs that get in trouble on the internet, and you know how they don't look at you, they just keep. That's all I could do. I just didn't look at them until we were right on top of each other, and then I'm in a higher vehicle. I look down at him. He's a white guy, 25 or something years old. We go by each other, and now I just hit it because if he at the time I thought he had the call and he was blocking the back road, but I realized he probably hadn't got it yet. But as soon as he gets that call, he's going to know it was that vehicle. The area, these banks that I'm hitting, they're out in the middle of nowhere. It's not like heavy traffic. He knows that vehicle is the bank robber. And I got a 15-minute drive on super snowy roads until there's an east-west, and I can get on that and get away. So I gun it. So I'm going along, boom. I had put a prop on this vehicle. So if you looked at it, you would have thought it was one type of vehicle because of this prop, but it wasn't. And that actually worked. I made a soft top Jeep look like a hard top.
Okay.
And I made a green Jeep look black. And it did go down as a black hard top Jeep. Well, that prop falls off, starts slamming up against the side of the Jeep because I just had jerry-rigged it and stuff. So there's a pull-off. I pull off. I go up into some Everglades, and I just went up in the Everglades just because it seemed like the vehicle fit. I get out, and I'm fixing the problem. I hear whop, whop, whop of a helicopter. So I go out where I can see, and sure enough, it's a Huey, but it's the New York State Police. And this is 15 minutes out after the robbery. I don't know how they got on me so fast, but I spent the night there with the vehicle. During this robbery, I showed you how I did it, I told those girls that I needed all 4 drawers, and I'm going to need you to lift the drawers. There was 2 girls working. They got all 4 drawers. So much money that it was actually falling off on the ground, falling down off there, and I had to take my eyes off. I named this girl Zero Girl because she gave me zero trouble, man. Really, they were very, very professional. I get that all done. This happened during the winter time. I had thought going out during the snow and winter that I would not have to deal with so many cops and helicopters, but they're all over the place.
Right.
Summer comes. I'm walking down the street. This girl, M, starts screaming my name, Victor, Victor, Victor. I go over, I talk to her. She introduces me to a girl, a guy, a girl. We all say hi and talk and all that. Go back to talking to her. She says, yeah, those are the girls that work at such and such bank. It's Zero Girl and her friend. I say, hey, can I go grab a beer and you'll tell me the story of the robbery? I said, absolutely. Just like I told her. You're going to have a cool story to tell your friends. Yeah, I go and I get the beer and she tells me her version of the story, which is not.
What happened?
Yeah, I never said, don't look at me. Why would I say that? There's cameras there.
So, what were you wearing a mask? How do they not recognize you?
Oh. Well, I wouldn't wear a mask, but I would dress. On that particular job, I think the person may have dressed as, they had a helmet on, and, you know, I would have it all up here, and I would have sides and glasses. Other than, I think if you go on the internet, I think you'll be able to get a glimpse of how I would do it. I would always wear a uniform. Sometimes I went as a construction worker, and sometimes I went in, it almost looked like a brown UPS, and then I did another one kind of dressed in a bigger coat.
But she didn't recognize you.
You
They
wouldn't.
didn't- okay.
You wouldn't, because I had 3-inch lifts. I had made my own fat suit, and I had a helmet on. But more importantly, I had the Mad Duck side of me, you know? See, when you talk to Victor, you're like, whatever. But you talk to Mad Duck, that's a real dude. You're going to give him the money.
All right.
Son.
Okay.
All right, so that one's down. Oh, so we take that money and we go to Amsterdam and we rent the oldest houseboat. Man, we had the greatest time. This poor girl falls in love with me. And it was around this time that I'd realized I couldn't beat my drugs, so I had decided I would get myself off. Take the long, cool sleep. Yeah, so this drug habit that I'd acquired, this monkey on my back, I couldn't quit it. It had me beat. So I'd come up with the plan that I would just get myself, I can't off myself, but I can put myself in situations where I'll probably get killed. So that's what we're going to do. We decided we're just going to rob as many banks as we can and travel the world. The first job was, I would let my wife, I was pretty much just a piece of shit stay-at-home drug addict. And when she got fed up, this would take 6 to 8 months of me, she would like, I'd be like, okay, well, we'll go on a trip, pick a spot. And she would pick a spot. So that's where Operation Grasshopper happened. And after that, the second robbery, there was nothing the only thing I can tell you about the second robbery is that the manager was actually huge. He looked like a lumberjack. I mean, absolutely huge. And even though I had a weapon, I did not want any trouble with that guy. So after that, we went to Ireland for St. Paddy's Day because she was Irish, and she's actually named after a hill.
Okay. Wait, can I go back for a
Sure,
second?
yeah.
How much did you get in the first one, roughly?
Upstate New York workers' yearly salary.
Okay.
Take home. So.
All right. And the second one?
The second one was about.
Not great?
Not great.
You know, because, the average bank robber gets like...
You have to.
Like a grand
they
or two.
have. Well, you have to get every single drawer, and they need to lift those drawers, and you should probably hit them right before lunch or right before closing.
Right.
Why do they need to lift the drawers?
Oh, because they'll get to a certain amount, and then they take it out of the drawer and put it underneath it. Most of the real money's underneath that drawer, unless, God forbid, they actually have a drop box, but some
You're
don't.
not getting to the drop box, probably.
No, I can't.
Because you want to be in and out.
You want to be in and out, but because I knew this was going to end like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Remember, they go out and they get all killed? That's what I was waiting for. So I never had any, hurry up. I did say we need to get me out of here. But one thing that did happen on that operation was I did catch my eyes, or Mad Duck's eyes, right before I went in. And I said, "Are you nervous?" He says, "No." I said, "Are you scared?" He says, "No." I said, well, you got to be something. You're throwing your life down. You've got to feel something. And he just said, I feel like getting it over with. Let's go. So I never got a rush out of it. I'm not saying I would fall asleep during one. You're definitely, but I never got a rush. I don't know why.
Okay.
Yeah. So Operation Fundy 1 comes. She wants to go to the Bay of Fundy and see whales. Have you ever been to Nova Scotia? Fucking beautiful, man.
Really?
Everything is beautiful. You
Seems
could
like it'd
take
be cold.
Oh, you go in the summertime. We went in the summertime to go whale watching.
It still feels like it'd be cold.
It does, but it
It
wasn't.
may not be, but it looks.
No, it's the most beautiful place in the world that I'd been to.
Okay.
And even to this day, I mean, just you take a picture of a trash can, you'd want to put it up on a poster. You'd be like, look at that. But I don't know. Everything just seems foreign and cool over there. Okay, so Operation Fun Day 1 is going to be a Bank of America's regional office because we're not up good. And this is a big one, dude. We're going to take it on a Saturday. The problem is it sits by itself. And from the front door till across the road is probably 150 yards, and there's no cover. And there's no cover on any other sides either. This building sits alone, and when you pull in from the first one, it has a, enter this way, exit that way. And then you can either park right here and go in this door, or the employees go in back and park. And when they leave, they go out this way. Is that all making sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, we wait on this one until we really got a good snowstorm, because 2 out of 3 of the last jobs, I've had a helicopter on me. So it's snowing bad. I get stuck behind this guy. The reason, of course, not just helicopters, but police vehicles are not all 4-wheel drive. And even if they are, they're going to get stuck behind, the guy that's not. Doesn't have 4-wheel. So it really, I always had 4-wheel drive, and it really cuts down on the reaction time. So it's a bad snowstorm. There's a V in the road, and on the right V is the bank. In between the right V and the left V is a neighborhood. So I'm going to take the left V, park in the neighborhood, cross the road, and do the 80 yards to the bank, hit the bank, come out, and just hope nobody starts shooting at me, because there's just nothing I can do on that one. So on the way there, everything keeps getting delayed, because traffic is terrible. Finally, I get to my spot. I get out, I get to the road, and I cannot get across this road. Traffic. Literally, hundreds of people went by a bank robber holding his folder. At this point, during the robberies, I was taping the gun in the folder. I'd actually gone from being real aggressive to just turning it down. You don't have to slam it. They just have to see it, So I've got it in a folder. It'll still work if I need it, but it's really more of a prop. Yo, man, I cannot get across this road. It's just bumper to bumper traffic. Finally, I get across. There's instantly a problem. Mad Dog says, yo, there's a blazer, like an O.J. Simpson blazer, parked in the wrong. He's parked facing out on the enter thing. Like he's waiting for somebody to come. If you came out the bank and walked, you'd walk right into his vehicle. So he's got to be there to pick somebody up, right?
Maybe a bank robbery in progress?
You know what? I never ever thought of that, man. I never ever thought of that.
Could you imagine you're walking up, a guy's running out, you're like...
Yeah, it would have been... I never thought of that. What I knew is that this guy would have no problem driving over me, even on the lawn. Like, even if I didn't get on the sidewalk... He can run me over in this vehicle, dude. And so I was like, Mad Duck, do you have any plans? He says, absolutely. We're going to come out, shoot him, and take that vehicle to our vehicle. I said, you got any other plans? He says, yeah, we're going to come out. We're going to shoot out those tires. You got any plans that doesn't have me firing my weapon? No, I don't. So I'm almost to the door, and I've got these big, they were called cataract glasses. You ever seen those?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wear those. Those hide half of your face. So I'm looking at this guy, and he's staring right at me. The blazer's running, but you have to understand, to be a bank robber, you've got to have that commitment. You can't just, oh, no, I'm not going to do it now. So once I climbed out of that vehicle, it was like making sure I was here. Once that clicks in my head, I can't turn it off. So I cannot back out of this job. And I don't have to, because here comes the chick that's going to go to his car. She goes up and she's pushing the door, and then she flips the sign to close and goes just like this. I'm sorry. And I stopped and I turned around and walked back. So that was just a job that didn't go well. The next one we'll talk about is the last one I did, and that's called Operation Vanilla. Have you ever been to Bora Bora?
No.
Me neither. I was supposed to go to Vanilla Island. Bora Bora is actually a series of islands. Well, one of them had an old vanilla plantation on it. And they had these little bungalows out over the water. And I had officially never really taken my wife on a honeymoon per se. So we're going to go there and ride turtles around an island that smells like vanilla, right? That's got to be fun.
Mhm.
So this is Operation Vanilla. On this job, I'm going to use my car, but no, there ain't no but. I'm just using my car. Here's where we make a super mistake. We always had clothes and bags and gloves put away that was never, ever touched unless it was for a robbery, and then it disappeared. Because DNA is a big deal, dude. I have psoriasis. I leave DNA everywhere, so I'm conscious of that. Until I'm a major drug addict, and then not so much. So I get up in the morning, and I put on a pair of dirty cargo pants. And I go down to the locker I have. I open it up. I take the clean gloves. I take the clean bags. And I put them in that pocket. I go with my wife. I already have it all mapped out. I drop her off at work. I drive to her back parking lot because I know there's no cameras. I look at all the cars. Nobody's around. Somebody is around. I'll find out later. A woman had dropped her son off at work, showed up early, and put her seat back to read a fucking book. So no, I didn't see her. So I put on the uniform I'm going to wear for this job. I switch out the tags. I go. I catch this bank, and I know this bank just as it opens. I put a cone. I used to like to bring cones sometimes, because if you put a cone in front of a door, it really does slow people down. Really does.
Yeah.
So I go in. I catch it just as it's open. It's just her and a manager. When I say her, this is like a 55-year-old perfect school teacher woman. Like she's got a white turtleneck on with a white sweater that would button down, and just a perfect, nice, stern, always going to do the right thing woman.
Mm-hmm.
So I come up and I open up the folder, and the folder says, "This is a robbery." And then the gun is right there. So I put it down, and as she comes up, she hits her hand. She goes like this. And when she does, this one hits the alarm.
Mm-hmm.
So I said to her, "Did you just hit the alarm?" All the color drains from her face. I say, "Well, we need to get going here. I'm not going to take myself hostage. And I really don't care if I walk out that door and there's 10,000 cops. You still have to give me that money, man."
Right.
So as soon as I said that, I know she realized I wouldn't hurt her. Because she changed completely. Her face turns bright red, takes out the money, she's slamming it down. I said, "I'm going to need all 4 drawers. She screams, "Why? They're empty. I'm the only one here." I look back at the manager. Yeah, I don't know if he's ignoring her or what. I say, "Honest Injun," because I know you're lying. I know she came in early. She opened up the vault with the manager. She took all these pre-counted trays and popped them in there.
Right.
I don't have to lie. So she knows she's caught. She goes over to open the drawer. She whips out this set of keys. There had to be 30 or 40 keys, all of them identical. Tries, looks at me, looks at the clock. Second key, looks at me. I waited till the 4th key, and I walked back and took the money and walked out. I mean, she kind of had me beat on that one. When I get to the door, I realize one of the main things they like to do is they'll give you stacks of loose $1 bills. Well, those have a ink on them. So that ink will be everywhere. And sooner or later, a cop with a little certain light will go click. And once he knows you were at that 7-Eleven because those bills were there, then he just watches the camera.
Mm-hmm.
You knew about that, right?
No,
No, whatever.
never heard
that. Yeah. There's tracers, die packs, and then there's like an ink money. And it's all $1 bills, because then you're just like this with every of them. So I dump that money. What can I do with it? The whole job was a complete disaster. And I leave. I go home. I go to a safe house I have, swap everything out. My wife gets off of work. I go right down, pick her up. That night, I should have put in fuel in her vehicle so that she would take her car back. She did. I didn't, because I'm a worthless drug addict. So last thing I hear from her is, Jeep's on empty, I'm taking the car. She takes that car right back down. And by then it had been all over the news and stuff. So the woman that I had missed called it in, says, hey, blah, 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 blah. So they go back to that parking lot. Pretty soon I'm getting text messages from my wife saying, hey, there's people around the car. And I'm like, it might be the inspection. And then she's like, security just called me down. So at this point, I know I'm fucked, man.
Sounds like she's fucked.
Nah, she doesn't know anything. You know, she's a nice, good person.
Sounds like a you problem, sweetie.
Car's in my name. And this is the type of girl that you would look at her and be like, you know what? You married a piece of shit husband. I'm going to be the hero that kills him for you. You know, people liked her a lot more than they liked me. I know the gig is up. I've got weapons at my house and some other stuff I need to get rid of. So I get rid of those. And that's the best thing. I decide I'm going to borrow a friend's car. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. How many banks have you robbed?
5 banks.
5 banks. Okay.
I've only ever been convicted of 1. I've been suspected of the 2 others. During Operation Vanilla, I told you I put on dirty pants.
Yes.
Well, when I put that bag in for the robbery, I had already put my hands in those dirty pants. So they were filled with squamous cells. When I put that plastic bag in there, it got the squamous cells. When I took that plastic bag and put it on that bank counter, I left my squamous cells. That's why I could not get out of that robbery. They had my DNA. The bank teller, that woman that I argued with, looked at my picture and said, I don't think so, and pointed out an off-duty cop. 3 people. Nobody has ever ID'd me. They all picked the cop, who was a real dude. If you look at me in real life, you're like, I don't think so. So I was only caught on that one because they had my DNA. Unless they had gone to my house and grabbed my toothbrush, which they might have. But when I was being held in Albany County, they came in with a court order, swabbed, and next thing you know, they had my squamous cells. And that's the only way I can think, because I was very diligent about making sure I didn't leave DNA. And that's the only reason I would call myself a professional. Number 1, I knew that the most important thing is not to hurt people.
Right.
And number 2, don't make it look like you're the same guy robbing all those banks.
Yeah. Don't get cute.
Don't do that. Yeah. In fact, the only reason I'm telling this story is because we're going to get to the drug part. But yeah, so it never looked like it, you know. And they were so random. Later, I will be questioned for those, and I'll tell you how I think I got out of them. Okay, so I go to my friend's house, and I'm going to borrow their car. I get a message from Tara saying she's been called down to security. The next message I get from her about an hour later says, sweetheart, I'm sick. Can you meet me at home? We don't call each other like cupcake names and shit. That's not her. So, of course, I say, you bet, I'm on my way. And I head south towards her dad's house. While I'm heading to Rockland County, I'll tell you everything that happens at my house. At some point, they send snipers through with ghillie suits. And when they don't take any fire, they come in with a bobcat. They had a bulletproof bobcat with a big pole on it. And they have found the secret cabin, and they are not happy. And even though my wife had the keys to the door, fuck you, Victor. So they take this battle ram. I'm told this story from my wife and the police. I was on the run. It took them 3 tries because I got these custom-made doors that are this thick and open out. Well, they broke through it, and they just ripped the cabin apart. Nothing is found there. But now every single cop in the state of New York is pretty much after me. So, and this is growing. Later, my wife told me what was going on. It's like it's a couple-hour drive down to Rockland County. I don't know it, but I now have 2 helicopters on me, and the world is closing in on me. So I go to my father-in-law's house. I go in, I tell them the situation. I've robbed a bank, but they have Tara. And we're talking about what to do when the phone rings, and it's the person's whose car I borrowed. So I pick it up. And the reason I'd swapped with this girl is that she had said she was going to, had nothing going on this evening. Well, I guess when she says that, that includes going to town for Pilates, because every single person in the cop in the world is looking for my vehicle. That's why I've taken hers. She drives right down in town, and next thing you know, she's handcuffed on the vehicle. La, 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 la. Where's Victor? Where's Victor? Where's Victor? She doesn't know. This is just a regular good person. Another regular good person that's now been hurt because of me.
Right.
So she calls me. I answer the phone. She says, yo, somebody's here to talk to you. It's the state police. They said, Victor, do you know what this is about? And I said, well, am I speaking to the officer who pretended to be my sick wife? And it got real quiet. Then he says, if you don't turn yourself in right now, we can't protect you. And boy, that just stung me like I needed his protection. So audacity. From him. Hello. Right. So I don't remember this part, but he later told me, I said, I'll call you back. I don't remember saying that. I remember him saying that to me, and then the whole house started to shake. And then I was outside walking. And what it was is one of the police helicopters was coming down, trying to get like a landing area, and it was shaking the house, man. So when I found myself outside, I looked, and I could hear the gears of APCs, armored personnel carriers, not the tracked ones. You know the ones they use. Yeah, there's 3 of them, dude. There is cops. There's 2 helicopters. Everybody's showing up, dude. And they're going to make a circle, a perimeter. And I just lucked. The perimeter started here. I was just here, so I went this way. So I just got out of this circle. And this is in Rockland County, and I just start going downhill, crossing roads. I did notice that there was no traffic that night. I didn't realize the whole world is blocked off. So I come down to a road, and I start walking it, and a car comes, and I hide underneath these bushes just in case it's a cop. And there was 2 houses fairly close, and one of them had a half-circle driveway. And where that half-circle ended, there was a pretty good-sized bush. It was under that bush that I hid. It's a state police canine blazer, and as soon as he gets even with me, he kills his lights and whips in like this. I'm listening to the engine tick. They tick when they cool down. If he lets this dog out, I'm just going to give myself up. But he doesn't. So I get up, I walk down that driveway, and there was a very large travel trailer there, one of those real fancy ones. I did not mess with that travel trailer. If I bumped into it, it was just because it was dark. I didn't try to break into it. So I go on. I only bring that up because that's later surrounded, the doors ripped off, and they blow it up. And then they want me to pay for it. Yeah, I'll come to that. I didn't mess with anybody's camper, dude. I'm leaving. I'm like, so when I went past that camper and stuff, I went into an area of about 50 yards that was bougainville. Do you know what that is? It's like a tree that grows out of 2 feet of water. It's perfect for getting rid of dogs.
Right.
Dogs can't get through it. And I know there's dogs on my trail. So I get through this swamp, and then there's about 20 feet, and I come to a cliff. Have you ever taken the train to or from New York City?
No.
Well, a lot of your listeners have, so they'll know exactly where I am. When you're on the train, on one side is just the Hudson River. On the right side, right next to the train, is a cliff. It's 60 to 80 feet high. And nobody can climb this, dude. Okay? Right. Well, I don't have a choice, so I get to it. And I can remember Mad Duck saying, "Good luck, Rambo." You remember the movie Rambo, where Rambo gets there and he has to climb?
I remember Rambo. Of
Yeah,
course.
dude, I'm in that position. I cannot run into these cops in the swamp. They're gonna kill me. I don't have that guy's protection anymore. I have to get away.
right.
Honestly speaking, they want to shoot bank robbers. I have a CW. I don't have that particular pistol on me, but I am armed. But I'm not going to shoot cops. But they definitely want to shoot me now, and that's fair. But I can't get caught now. So I got to climb it, man. I make it about 25% of the way down, and that's a wrap. So in the Army, they teach you if you start falling, to kind of just start grabbing on anything, just slowing yourself down. So as I fell off the rocks, I looked down, and there's a speeding Amtrak below me, man, like going 100 miles per hour. For a brief nanosecond, I had that thought of Robert Redford when he's running on the train and jumping.
Right.
You can't do that on this train, dude. I remember Mad Duck saying, "I got nothing." And the way he said it was like, "You're fucking dead." Well, it's kind of an optical illusion. They've actually cut an area about 3 feet. And so I land there, I crumple, and as my head goes back, I'm like 2 feet away from that train going, wah, 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 wah. Then it's all quiet. Well, I've smashed up my back, I've smashed up my hand. And Mad Duck says, "Well, there's their blood trail." And I look up, and this will give your viewers where exactly I am, and I see the Bear Mountain Bridge. And it's beautiful, dude. It's got cops all across it. But the way they lined up, it was symmetrical. Like they had 3 police cars, then a yellow lights, and then 2 more police cars. So it looked like a big necklace. Mad Duck's like, "Look, that's for you." So then I know there's a lot of people after me. If they've got that bridge closed off, everybody's after me. So I start walking away from that, and I'm looking at the Hudson, and I see there's all these covered rocks with the moss and da-da-da. I see a moss-covered rock that's a perfect square. Well, there's no such thing, right? That's a piece of styrofoam, deck styrofoam. Mad Duck's like, "We're out of here." You'll notice my whole life I go back to movies. So now I'm thinking the Deer Hunter. Remember when those guys jumped on the log and got away from the POW camp? Yeah. I'm going to take this thing, swim out to the Hudson, and float away. So, yeah, that's really a good plan. So I reach in my pocket. I've got like 35 to 40 pills. And I don't know why I did this, but I started counting my dose out. And Mad Dog says, "What are you doing? You saving some for tomorrow? Because you need to look around. We're out of tomorrows, kid. You have fucked this up beyond fixing it. The best thing you can do is to take all those pills. Go out there, have one of those little seizures of yours, float out to the sea, never be found. A mystery, just like Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid. This is my chance to die a legend." I said, "Yeah, man." So I take the pills, and this is to tell you how committed I was. Do you have any idea how filthy the Hudson is?
I imagine it's pretty polluted.
Terrible, dude. So I just cupped the water because I ain't got to worry about the diarrhea. Kid, we're not down for that. We're not going to be around for that. So I take it, and one of the little painkillers gets caught right back here. So it actually took me all of the water to get the bastards down. I got them down. So now with our plan, we're going to walk out there and see if we can float with this thing. It's about, 8 or 9 o'clock at night. It's a half moon. It's warm out. It's August sometime. August 2013. I'd really love to talk to one of the cops that chased me. So I just go out as far as I can, and I find that if I hold this thing underneath my chin and I do scissors, I can keep my head above water. Okay. So I go in the Hudson. I'm going, and a garbage barge comes. And this is my first time being a buoy, so I'm not sure how fast I can travel. And even though I know I'm going to die, I don't want to get run over by that garbage barge. Something about being sucked underneath into the propellers. I didn't want that. I just thought I'd have my seizure and float away. I didn't want to go in the propellers.
Right.
So now I'm watching this because I don't know how fast it comes. In the end, the thing ends up passing me from here to your microwave. And only my head is above water. And I'm thinking, what could I say? What is the one thing I could say to somebody that would fuck up their life if they saw a floating head? And the only thing I could come up with is, do not masturbate. You know? What would you say if you saw a head that said, do not masturbate? You're going to have a hard time masturbating. That's all I could think of to say. I don't know why I didn't have that overdose. Maybe it was the cold water.
Wait, did you? Wait.
What? Nobody.
Did somebody see you?
No, nobody saw
Okay,
it.
so
Nobody was on the railing.
So you just hope you were thinking, if I do see somebody.
I can't hide. Like,
Okay, this is what I'm going to say to you.
yeah, I didn't know it. Like,
Okay, but you didn't. So
no.
it's fine. Okay,
I did not wreck somebody's masturbation career.
got it.
I don't know why. And I think I spoke to you. I thought it would be fun if we could show where I went in and where I got out. Because to this day, I don't know how many miles I drifted, but I could locate the place I got out of. So now it's 4 or 5 hours later. To be honest, I've totally forgotten about the drugs and overdosing and all that. And Mad Duck keeps saying, just get to the other side and you can rest. Just get to the other side and you can rest. Pretty soon the shore is super, super dark. I realize that is the shore. And I've made it to the other side. And as I come up out of the embankment, there's a trail. And I follow the trail. Boom, there's a Buddha. Good-sized Buddha. So I take another trail. Boom, there's another Buddha. I take a third trail. And there's like this weird Chinese thing. I take a fifth trail, and I finally find my way out of that place. That's why we could find it on a satellite. Somebody's got to have some sort of Buddhist center there.
Okay.
All right, so I find a road, and I'm on the run now. Daylight comes, and I find that I'm going to be forced to swim some more water. But at this point, I'm a little tired. So I find some big boulders. I dig out some dirt, and if anybody ever says, go back to the rock you crawled out from under, it's in Rockland County, dude. Right. I crawled under that rock, covered it up. I had to go to sleep, man. So I get up, I'm walking, I'm following some railroad tracks because I'm not going to get across the water in daylight doing the head buoy trick. And a pickup truck crosses, and then it backs up. So I'm like, it's over now, right? There's some old boy, good old boy in a pickup truck, late model 80s. Says, what happened to you? Because I'm all messed up, dirty. I say, sir, I just crashed my friend's four-wheeler back there and I lost my phone. Do you think you could give me a ride to a store? He says, absolutely. So I get in the car. He says, do you mind if we got to stop at a couple sales? I said, sales? He says, garage sales. So we stop at 2 garage sales. The second garage sale, I helped some lady move a fain-in sofa. You know what those are, those little fain-in sofas? They put them in women's bathrooms. It's just like a little couch.
Yeah.
So I help it. I move that for a lady I don't know. He says, you're a good old boy. I'll give you a ride wherever you need to go. So he gave me a ride to a friend's house who then gave me a ride to New York City. Because at this point, going downstream, I'm pretty close. So I go to the big bus station. I disappear, which you can no longer do. You know that kid in New York City that shot that healthcare guy?
Yeah.
He should have been able to disappear inside that bus terminal. That's what I did. That's a known, cleansing area. There's no cameras. You go in there, you change your clothes, you get a bus with no ID. They must have face recognition because that's not working anymore.
Okay.
So don't think you can do that. So I jump on a bus, and at one point earlier, I didn't mention this, I should have. I had driven a VW bus down to Central America and back. When I came back from Alaska, I stopped in Texas to see my friend and my brother, and I bought a VW bus, and I drove it all the way to Central America and back. And I actually lived in that bus. This you must see. I lived in this bastard for 2 years while we built my log cabin.
Okay.
So I have friends in Belize. So now I'm on.
see it?
Oh yeah, you can see it, absolutely. So here's my plan. I'm gonna cut through. My friend Keith is gonna pick me up in Texas. I'm gonna cross at Matamoras, and then I'll just go down to Belize and get away because you can't extradite. But I stop in Myrtle Beach because my plan was never to get away. I was supposed to get killed. So I don't really want to get away, and I don't know what to do. So I just spend a couple days in Myrtle Beach, and they finally get fed up and they say, we're going to arrest your wife. So I just call them. I go into a Subway and I order a sub, and I ask the guy if he'll call 911 on me. I said, I knew that I had a federal warrant for armed bank robbery.
Right.
He says, you can do whatever you want to do. I ain't doing shit for you. So I make the sandwich. I mean, he makes me the sandwich, he gives it, and he lets me use the phone. I dial 911. I say, look, I'm Victor Shear. I'm at this Subway. I have a federal warrant for bank robbery. I'm unarmed and giving myself up. I give the phone to the manager. He'll give you the address and sit down and start eating, right? This is the last good meal.
Right.
All of a sudden, I hear him say, holy shit. And he had pulled up on his phone a picture of me on the federal warrant. So the parking lot fills with police slowly. I thought they'd just send 2 cops. They don't. They send the world. So they're coming, and this black guy, I'm just standing there, and he's like, yo, man, lay down on the ground so they don't shoot you. So I lay down on the ground, and I don't have any sharps, and I'm taken to North Myrtle Beach. And while I'm there, I'm starting to come off of drugs, feeling horrible. But I've also got super diarrhea. And any of my wounds, any open area I had before going into the Hudson, now it's turned greenish bluish. Almost a pretty color if it wasn't in your body.
Right.
You know? Like this wall. It was just terrible. So I had to go to a hospital a couple times. And from there, I'm transferred to the main Myrtle Beach. And then I'm transferred to a place, I believe it's called J.B. Long. It's the federal side of the Myrtle Beach jail.
Yeah. So it's the U.S. Marshals holdover. It's where they're holding you for
Okay.
the U.S. When you first get arrested, the U.S. Marshals are holding you. They
Okay.
typically hold you in a jail where they've rented space. Like they have one of this is the U.S. Marshal pod in this jail. So
Okay.
everybody's like, oh, I was in jail. Well, you were in the holdover. Like they rented, like you're being held by the marshals.
Originally, I was just in the regular jail cell, and then, they came, go to the
Right.
side. The Fed stuff, I hated that. It was like, there's no real windows or anything. It's weird.
Yeah, they're not concerned about you, about aesthetics
They
at
aren't.
all. They're
They
not concerned
aren't.
about your comfort. They're
They
really-
put the
they're kind of
toilet in the
dicks.
middle of the room. Who
Yeah,
does
it's
that?
embarrassing.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing. They're not. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I never sat in
terrible.
one comfortable
Although
chair.
good Crocs. They had beautiful Crocs. That's
Nice.
Yeah, that's all I got out of it.
Yeah.
So this is how I believe I got to go to federal prison. So I'm sitting there, and this good-looking FBI agent comes in. He's got cool sunglasses. I'm Special Agent Long. I said, Long like my sentence or with 2 G's? And he started to laugh, and he stopped. And he said,
You
no.
said he. You just said she. You said a.
Oh,
you
I'm
said
sorry.
A woman came in.
No, it was a man. It
Oh,
was a
okay.
man. He said, yeah,
Am I wrong?
Did I say she? It was a male.
Okay,
I
you said with
apologize.
great glasses. You said.
Oh, I'm sorry. He had sunglasses on. He looked like the picture perfect FBI agent.
Okay.
And he said, I'm Special Agent Long. And I said, Long like my sentence or 2 G's? That just kind of put him in a good mood. He said, no, I like your sentence. I just told him I don't even mean to be disrespectful, but I'm in a lot of trouble. I'm not going to say anything. What I will say is that it's me. I've done everything all by myself. They had a guy named Tony locked up because he had tipped me off. He hadn't tipped me off. He knew the police were looking for me, and he just texted me and said, the police are looking for you. I mean, I had already known it, but they had gone ahead and locked him up. The FBI was already in Florida at my mom's house, my sister's house. They were in Arkansas, screwing with my brother's business. There's a lot of them. And Yeah, so
Big hubbub about nothing.
about nothing, the Yankee bank robber. That's what they called me.
Did they?
Got that Yankee bank robber. So he says, well, one of two things are going to happen. Either we're going to let you go state, or you're going to fly around for a year, and then we're going to give you a bunch of time. So there's two things that can happen. If the feds really look into this, I'm in super trouble. I'm going to do like 35 years instead of 10 years for a simple bank robbery. If this balloon goes up high enough and they see everything,
Right.
I don't know what 45 and 35 is, but I wouldn't be still alive to add it anyway. So I'm done. So he releases me to the New York State Police. And there, I asked him, I said, can I go home with the U.S. Marshals? He says, why? I said, I have a favor. I don't want to go back with the state police. That's a long ride in the trunk of the car, getting the boots every time they need gas and stuff. Because I know they're pissed at me, dude. Cops like it when you run, but they don't like it when you run and get away. And bear in mind, that week I was gone, they were just tearing up everything, thinking I was here, there. And even after I arrested, people were like, I just saw him, you know? So I was very worried about them shooting some kid sneaking out of his house that night, thinking it was me. They were really aggressive and really crazy. So the New York State Police come for me, and they actually borrow Governor Cuomo's airplane. It's called Grey Goose 1. It's a turboprop. So they come and they get me, and there's some state police pilots, and they're like, if you fuck with this airline, you're going to get me. I said, well, I've already turned myself in. I'm not going to try to escape now in an airplane. So we all get in the plane, we're flying along, and I said, hey, where does the governor sit? And then we all suddenly realized I was sitting in a seat. He gets a window seat, and then there's 2 seats here, and then a seat here. Mine were filled with detectives, but I got to sit in Governor Cuomo's flight home. Hey, right, that's something. So I get home. You read where it said, later I get CMC'd for comments, I said. I no sooner get back to Albany County Jail when this big Delta Force wannabe state trooper with helmets and gear comes in and tries to take credit for catching me. Well, you didn't catch me. You're here because I called you. Long story short, I just give him a lesson in reality. You're not my competition. You're a free ride home, like a taxi. That doesn't go over well. It's quiet. He looks at me like I was the devil. So I go off, they want 12 and a half years.
And this is what, state?
Yeah, this is state. The feds have dropped me.
They dropped it, okay.
So we're just looking at this.
Did you say that, or did I miss it?
I think I stated he was either going to keep me and fly me around, or he was going to release me to the state.
Oh, okay.
So once I knew the state came and got me, I knew I was done with the feds, hopefully, and stuff. The state thing can still be a problem.
12 years.
12 and a half to 10. That's what he said. So I go get a great lawyer, right? Because I got a little money tucked away. She says, Victor Shear, I'm going to get you 5 years. Because, look at you. You're a Desert Storm veteran, first responder. So she leaves. She comes back, sits down, says, I can't help you. What happened to my 5 years? She said, you've stepped on a lot of toes. I can't help you, and it's worse. They want you for 2 other banks, but they're going to wait until this job is done, and then they're going to bring you to court on each one.
Well, can Mad Duck do 5? And you do 5?
No.
Seems reasonable. That's
It
a
does.
reasonable, right? I know
does.
he's willing to do it.
He'd do 5 years like that. Ain't nothing to him. After the nuke war, there's nothing but cockroaches. There will be a Mad Duck eating those cockroaches. Killing me is easy. Mad Duck, only Frolic Time will get him. So we sit for a year, and they're not coming down. And I notice nobody's talking. There's other banks they're talking about, but they're not coming. I'm trying to get one of those deals where I'll tell you the whole story. And then, you ever seen that? A lot of people do it.
Yeah, Queen
Yeah.
for a day.
Yeah, and then, but then I don't have to worry about anything else. You plead guilty and no, you're going to do one bank at a time, kid. So a year goes by, and finally I just got to go in there and leave it up to the judge. They try to tell him my history, and he says, Judge Peter Lynch says that's exactly the type of guy that should have known better. 9 years, 5 posts. It's kind of a lot, right? 9-5. That's what I got.
I mean, it's okay. That's not a
Everybody
bad deal.
gets 7.
I understand, but you robbed 5 banks.
They don't. This is one bank. That has nothing to do
Did
with
they
it.
charge you with the other banks?
No, not at this time.
Well, okay then. You robbed 5 banks. You got 9 years for 5 banks. I understand you're saying for one they didn't charge you with the other ones.
But they're
could've.
coming.
But did they?
Just listen.
Okay.
They're going to try their best. So I get that. I get 9 years, 5 years. I get CMC'd. That's when you're a central monitoring case. Because I had worked in prisons and because I was able to swim the Hudson and I'd had a Green Beret, fuck you, then you're not. I get CMC'd. So I get sent to Clinton Correctional Facility, which in itself is a horrible place. And I thought nobody could escape from it. Boy, was I wrong. But I get sent to a unit called APPU. I think you had somebody on there from, maybe not. Anyways, I can't tell you exactly what that stands for, and I would love to find out. I believe it's apically placed personnel unit, but it's for high-profile people. It's located in Lower H of Clinton Correctional Facility. It's filled with judges, ex-COs, serial killers. Tupac was there. Shine recorded a song off the phone there.
Sounds nice.
Yeah. One thing, it's filled with millionaires. The Bear family is there. The Rothschild family is there. Yeah, it is. It is insane, man. It's just... You know how in prison somebody would kill you for a candy bar? In this unit, you could ask somebody for a candy bar and they might give you 2. Everybody had money. Not me, but like most of the top people.
Right.
Do you remember a show Shark Tank?
Yeah.
So we watched that once and they had a thing called Bubba's Boneless Spare Ribs. That had just started. Within 2 weeks, those guys had those ribs in the prison. Money was no option. So, yeah.
I
So,
think you mean money was no object.
oh, yeah, you're right. Object, yeah. There's no option for me. I didn't have any. So, there's about a little over 300 people in this unit. And, yeah, I don't know. You're just locked down basically most of the time. Anytime you leave your cell and would leave this unit, you were heavily escorted. And the main thing I remember is the door to get into this wing was bigger than any bank vault. And I thought it was to keep people from getting out, but it was actually in case they lost control of the prison, people wouldn't get in. The worst people in the world are there. And this is the prison story I want to dedicate to J.D. Delaney. So I'd only been there a couple weeks, and I'm coming down, and, sometimes 2 staircases come into one.
So how much time did you do?
Well,
What year did this happen?
2013 this happens.
Okay.
I spend a year in Albany County Jail because they won't come down. Then I spend a year in Elmira because I get CMC'd. Mm-hmm. So by the time I get to by the time I get to Clinton, I only have 5 years left. But CMC'd, I got to stay there. So I stay until I have under 3 years. And then I transfer to Mohawk, a medium, and I get a job in Quick Chill. And if you do that for 2 years, you get 6 months off. So I'm able to get out after 7 years, 2 months, and 13 days. But I didn't count it.
I had a question. How'd you get off the other 4 robberies?
Oh, great. Yeah, okay. So I'm sitting in Clinton. I had a great friend. His name was Super Tom Paul. Called him Super Tom. Guy would get you out of anything. So, unfortunately, shortly after, in January of 2015, Super Tom, being Super Tom, takes his young girlfriend to Costa Rica. They decide they're going to climb a volcano. He has a heart attack 2/3 of the way up, drops dead. I'm told this girl actually had to hire the locals to put him in a body bag and carry him down the volcano between two poles. I mean, between a pole hanging like an old... So he's dead. So that's important. So I'm sitting in Clinton. I get a visit. Sweet. As soon as I walk in, I don't see anybody. They point to a room. So that's bad. I go to the room. I instantly know it's the New York State Police. New York State Police detectives need to spend more money on their suits.
Right.
They don't dress nearly as good as the FBI. So I come in. And they say, we need to talk to you. And the guy, this got me. I said, do you think I could get something to drink? He says, you'll be all right. Remember those words.
Mm-hmm.
So he wants to talk about a robbery.
You tell him I don't do that anymore?
But this is back when I was doing it.
Oh.
And I said that I was copied it. I said, you know what? I saw that robbery. I saw the guy got away. I said, I'm going to try that. Obviously, I'm not as good as him because you caught me. So they're offering me a deal. No time, no extra time. They were going to recommend no extra time. They offer me money for a TV, and they'll recommend a transfer. All the judges hate me. I'm going to get more time. I'm fucking in prison because of TV. You know, I don't need another TV. And there's no way, because I'm CMC, they're going to transfer me. So, I just said, first of all, I didn't do it, so I can't help you. But even if I could, that's a shitty fucking deal. So they ask if I know any other crimes, if I know of any bodies or anything like that. And I did know. I had known of somebody. I was not there when this person was buried, but a very close friend of mine told me he was there. They buried somebody that had been killed.
Yeah. They tend to kick and scream when you bury them and they're alive.
Right, yeah. So I knew where it had happened. So I said I did know where there was a body and stuff. And so we spent about 30 minutes giving them the directions and all that. And finally I said, well, you'll know you're in the right spot if it says Ames Cemetery. Yeah. He didn't like that either. He said, we're coming back in February to indict you. I said, I'll be all right. They never came back, and here's probably why. So the first way you'd want to track me is by my phone, correct? So on this particular case, during this one robbery, it was proven that I was at Super Tom's house. Not only was I at Super Tom's house, but I had put in a claim for the New York State Department of Labor and had been through a review process that lasts in between 15 minutes to 45 minutes. When you put in a claim, they'll give you a piece of paper.
So you couldn't possibly have been trying to rob or robbing some bank somewhere.
No. Two things you need to know about the Department of Labor. Number one, their phone calls are not taped. Number two, they talk to tons of people every day. You never spoke with me.
Right.
And so I always had something like that. On the two that they really came for me, I had a pretty solid alibi. And with Super Tom dying, it was done.
Right.
And that's the only reason. The other ones, there is no connection. One of them, because I got a fair amount of money, they believe it was an inside job. As I walked in, they had like a silver, almost like a bread cart, and money, I guess, had just come in. And of course I said, I'll take that. That was put down as maybe an inside job, and then another one was blamed on a Spanish person. I'm sorry.
Spaniards.
Probably an illegal immigrant.
Yeah, they're the worst.
They're the worst.
So
go ahead, I'll answer any question.
So you go to prison, you do the time,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to do you get halfway house?
Oh, no. So I get out in 2020, the end of 2020. COVID is everywhere. Somehow I get out of prison. It's right behind me. I think there were 6 people in my prison when I got out that had it, and then it just ran wild. So I never I get a female probation officer, and she likes me. We get along fine. I meet her once, and then I never saw her again because of COVID. She did swing by the house twice, but I have a cool log cabin, and said she wanted to show it to some friends. But other than that, I never really, and then I was off probation. Then when I came home, I got a job for the Amish. And so for 3.5 years, I drove a truck from the Amish from 5 in the morning to 6:30 at night.
Sheesh.
Yeah, and I came home, coming home.
Do you, every day? Or you have a couple days off?
Just Monday through Friday.
Okay, still, that's a hell of a day, huh?
Yeah, you know that this also happened during the Summer of Love. You know that famous Evel Knievel motorcycle crash in Las Vegas where he's going real slow? That's how I feel like my life has been since I came home. You know, I had an Airbnb business, $109,000 go through my cabin. I never got any of that money, dude. You know, my power of attorney took all that. So I'd lost 7 teeth. And when I'd eaten so much soy that when I tried to eat the real Amish food, I just couldn't eat. So I lost a bunch of weight. So I looked like a crackhead for the first 1.5 years, you know, and I had no teeth. I'm super skinny. So I got my teeth fixed. Now I got to take these enzymes to eat. I was just going to keep doing that until I get when I came home, they suspended my nursing license. So that was another hit because I thought I'd go back to nursing, but no way. They took it for 36 months, which runs out, you know, in like 30 days. Thank God. So I just happened to be on TV and I saw a guy I was in prison with, Steve Dominguez or something. He was a correctional officer turned smuggler. And he was on the Ian Bick, and I'd been in prison with him. And when I was writing my book, he was writing his book. And he just had a lot more guns to get his out. I've never done anything with mine. So I decided I would quit for about 8 months and do as many podcasts as I can until somebody's like, I got to see this Victor Shear's life on the screen.
That's, yeah.
So that's what we've been doing, man. That's it.
How many podcasts have you done?
3. This is probably my last one.
Wait. So you did Ian Bix. You did
Kevin Lannon. Listen, go check out Kevin Lannon. He's really trying to help people that have, you know, one thing in 2015 when I ended up in APPU, I stopped taking drugs. I was getting all my drugs from the VA. I've never gone back. So out of all my stories, beating those narcotics is the best one, dude, because that was hard. And not going back. It hasn't been great since I've been home. You know, I would take a bunch of Ritalin and rob 3 banks. I never thought of that since I've been home. But,
yeah, I have a question. What
Sure.
do you think that change is? Just coming off those substances?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I always had a bank robbery in me, but the drugs, once I knew I was dead, because I thought I'd already overdosed twice. Once I go to Alaska, we have a great vacation, we're going to fly home, I jump on the plane, I take my pills, I look out the window, close my eyes, I open them, there's a fucking paramedic right there. He says, "Are you all right?" I say, "Yeah." I look up, my wife has obviously been crying. Every single person on the plane is staring at me. So I'd had a grand mal seizure. They had to lock up the brakes on the plane and turn it around, kick my sorry ass off. So, I'm sorry, what was the question?
Yeah, this was, I guess, kind of what was the shift in your mentality or your mindset from?
You know, I just got clean, and I had really fucked things up, dude. I had a great life. I got a log cabin. I got a 17-year younger trophy life. I was making $70,000 or $80,000 a year. Now I'm in prison. I've obviously made a mistake somewhere. Funny, when I went to prison, everybody was like, "Oh, Victor robbed the bank." Nobody was like, "Oh, I can't believe it." Everybody was like, "Yeah, all right, probably happened."
saw that coming.
Yeah. So I was always heading in that way. But once I got clean, I don't know, dude. Everybody needs to go get a job and work hard. I will give the Amish for that, you know? There's a lot to be said about just working hard. So I don't know. I've never picked up a gun or gone back to pills, and I don't think I will.
Where's Mad Dog?
Mad Duck.
Mad
Mad
Duck.
Duck.
I was
Please don't
repeating,
call it Mad Duck or Mud Duck.
I was repeating Mad Duck in my head.
Mad Duck Pond is in Canajoharie, New York. And it's a beautiful it's got it's on Airbnb. I recently took it off. Usually you can rent it. We have super host status. You'd absolutely love it. The main cabin, there's 2 cabins. The main cabin, the outlaw cabin, the one that I used when I was a bank robber, is for rent. And that's beautiful, man. That's all the good in me and Mad Duck, you know? And it's not a head shed. When you're there, you would never think somebody like me built it. You would think a gay lumberjack did it. Yes, Canajoharie, New York. Everybody needs to go there. We have a terrific a library there called the
So
Arkell
this is
Museum.
an Airbnb that you have?
Yes. Oh, yeah, look at that.
Oh.
And certainly show that.
Wow.
I have a second cabin that's smaller.
It starts off with the picture of it.
Of the sign?
Yeah, the sign that says, look, it's got a dog.
We call it Canajo Scary because of, well...
So here's the sign.
Wow.
Yeah, so I named everything.
1999.
Yeah, I named everything after my inner personality or whatever that somebody would tell you what it is. My inside daddy issues.
Oh, yeah. This guy, the guy that got killed, beaten down.
Yeah, so that was regular business.
That's what you were talking about.
That's the prison I was in. That's just, I guess they forgot. Also, when I was in prison, there was no cameras. When I did the Kevin Lannon podcast, I said, yo, they kill people. And 2 weeks later, this came out. When I was in Clinton and you went to APPU, it didn't matter who you were, black, white, Mexican. There's only one gang there, and that's blue.
Okay.
So there.
I just sent it to you.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's actually 2, and then there's a smaller cabin, an 8x12 cabin that I live in. That right now I don't have running water, I don't have electricity, and I just decided I would do this until summer.
You're living like the Unabomber.
I live, exactly like the Unabomber, but there's no excuse for being sloppy and cheap, and his place was a dump.
Yeah, he did. He was not, for such a smart person, he was not organized.
No, and also there's no excuse for being filthy.
Yeah.
You know, no, my log cabin has the doors custom painted.
He had mental issues.
He did.
You know, people with mental issues, unless it's OCD, typically tend to have poor hygiene and
yeah, you know what? You're right on that.
Very dirty. I noticed, and I picked this up in prison.
Yeah,
is that the people that had mental disorders tended to not want to like brush their teeth. Or
You're right. They have like some of them have weird phobias.
Yeah, they had to make them take showers. I've been using Mando's whole body deodorant, and let me tell you, you can use it anywhere: pits, balls, thighs, and even your feet. Mando's powered by mandelic acid, so it stops odor before it even starts. It blocks odor all day. I'm talking 72 hours. I love the scents too. My favorite is bourbon leather. It smells amazing. You can choose from other fresh options like Cloverwood and Mount Fuji. And the best part, no baking soda, no parabens, just clean, safe deodorant for your whole body. I've added Mando to my daily routine, and honestly, I feel fresher and more confident. It works way better than just showering alone. Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid deodorant stick, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, and free shipping. As a special offer for listeners, new customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. You'll get 40% off your starter pack if you use code COX at shopmando.com. That's SHOPMANDO.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Once again, that's shopmando.com and use the promo code COX.
I know. Yeah, absolutely.
But if it was just a normal, well-rounded person.
Yeah, because when you live out in the field, you must stay clean. Otherwise, you're going to get diarrhea and it's just going to be a mess. So, yeah, but even though I don't have those things, I have a crick where I get water. So I never go without. And it's kind of fun. But it's a badass little cabin. I will send you some pictures of that.
Okay.
In fact, I sent you one in the beginning. I said, I'm leaving right now. And I took a little picture of the cabin. Yeah.
Before you started robbing banks, you spoke to a bank employee. What are
My
some?
sister.
Yeah.
For many years. In between, when I was down in Florida, my sister was a cop for Clay County Sheriff's Department. My brother-in-law from a different marriage was a cop. My other brother-in-law was an engineer. My sister was a bank manager. And I don't know why we did this, but for years, for hours, we just sat around talking about robbing banks.
Why is all of this starting to come together now? His hat says Mad Duck.
It's weird.
And that's a duck's skull?
Mm.
Do you know what I thought that was the whole time? I thought it was a woman laying down. And she's kind of like this, like she's looking at something.
I like it, man.
And you can see her arms, her head, her body, her ass, and her
man.
legs. And
It's whatever you see, man. It's there. It's
But
like
it's
a pack
actually-
of cigarettes,
it's a
like the
duck.
Camel cigarettes. Yeah, it's the skull of a duck. It's the real skull of a duck.
Yeah.
I got a friend made it for me, and I have sure it's also.
All starting to make sense.
It'll get worse.
So I don't understand that you've got the Airbnb thing. You've got what? How many cabins?
2.
2 cabins. Are you working on others?
I would. If anybody out there is building a log cabin and they're in a jam, I'd like to come help them.
Well, no, I meant on
Do
your
I?
on your property.
Not right now.
Just 2,
No.
the 2
Once
spots.
a log cabin is a lot of work, man.
Right,
Even
but
the
you're renting-
small ones.
But you're renting them out.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is so what is your goal, like, to do the traveling nurse thing again and have these things kind of run themselves? Or
I don't have any goals. I don't have any plans. Sometimes lately, honestly, I wish I hadn't crawled out of the fucking river.
You
I don't
need-
know what I'm gonna do.
I mean, you can get your nursing license
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
Listen, I know a chick that probably makes $150,000, $200,000
Yeah,
a year
yeah, okay,
as a
all right.
traveling nurse.
Yeah.
No.
I already did that, and I'm going to do that again. Look, I'm not saying the future's bleak. I'm just saying I suffer from survivor's boredom. Most people go survivor's guilt.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah, I get it. Okay, everything's going to be all right, but it sounds real fucking boring, man.
Huh, I don't know. I think it's pretty
Oh,
pretty
so
good out
maybe
here.
I was thinking maybe I'd do a podcast called Broken Nurse, and what I would do is go find anybody with an occupational license that's messed up and put them on there. But I don't know what I'm
we
doing.
have one of those, but I think we've interviewed a guy who was addicted to painkillers, and he was a nurse. He's got a YouTube channel. Do you remember that? I interviewed the guy.
He's a white guy. He's probably.
Oh, so I can't even do that now. Somebody's already done
No,
it.
you can do it. Lots of people. There's like this show is a duplicate of about 600 other TV show or other YouTube channels.
I do have a book called If Ducks Could Kill. Of course.
What's the name of the biography that you've written?
If Ducks Could Kill.
That's your biography? I thought there was the Angel Arm or something, or the Queen's.
Oh no!
That's a chapter,
Whenever, yeah,
right?
that's
Oh,
just
that's
a
just a
chapter. So
chapter, okay.
almost every single story I've told you, I don't
been a
know how to
chapter.
write it. Right. So in prison, my friends told me just write the story. So
Yeah,
all
that
mine are
sounds
just
reasonable.
block stories, like just thousands of pages of block
That's how you
stories.
write a book, pretty much.
Yeah, I know,
With
but I
maybe
need
a
that
few-
help. I need that. I got to get it from this to this, and that takes somebody like I probably am dyslexic. A stop sign is really a backward POTS to me. I mean, I've memorized it as stop.
You need to self-publish on Amazon KDP, and you can grab somebody from off. There's an app called OfferUp, or
Okay.
a website called OfferUp. And you go on there and you ask somebody, "Hey, how much to publish?"
Oh, I didn't
How-
know that. See, I
yeah.
thought, then why am I here? I thought I'd have to go on the Matthew Cox and say, hey, if you want to help Victor put this book out.
I mean, you could, but
I
you
just
you
did.
could also pay somebody $500 or $600, and they'll do the whole thing and put it up for you. And
Really? I'll make sure you write that down for me because I didn't know. Do you think I have a book? Do you think I should?
I haven't.
No,
I-
with
I-
my stories. Are they
No,
interested in them?
yeah, they're interesting. They're interesting.
Because I don't just, everybody says, hey, I wrote a book in prison. I don't just
Everybody's
write-
written a book.
Yeah,
in prison.
exactly. I don't want to be that regular dude. I'd rather just be quiet than be like, it's another prison book.
I think your social media interviews will help.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how good the book is,
Phenomenal.
but you are. I'm saying the way you tell your stories and the way you are, your personality, it's like very unique. Where people are gonna be like, will remember you. It's not. It wouldn't be like
The
a
book is
forgettable-
like that. It's
So
Crazy.
I think the problem is that there's a huge disparity between people that publish books and bestsellers. Like if you have a bestseller, you might make, you could make 50, 100, 200,000 a month, right?
Yeah,
and
that's what I'd like to do.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, my book's making less than 1,000 a month. You see what I'm saying? And I have many books. So that's a combination of
I know. That's one of the
4 or
reasons I
5
came here.
books.
I need your help with this book. I'll write it, but just from time to time, I may have to text you.
You can text me. That's fine. You might want to be. You're not a great texter.
No, I'm not good at. And
No.
you don't understand. That is all
you tend
like.
to send some. You tend to send something, and I'm like, what is the context of this sentence? I haven't asked this person about this. What is this video? I don't know what this is.
Yeah, I
If
do
there's a
that. I
sign
just
that
send you
says-
something.
Yeah, and I'm like, I watched it, and then
I think
Jess
I put a note.
leans
This is
over.
where I'm from.
Jess leaned over, and she goes, "What's that?" I go, "I don't know." And then I watched it again, and she's like, "Is he in a cabin?" I'm like, "I don't know. You know
Yeah.
as much as I know."
Yeah.
Or you'll send an article,
Yeah.
like with the link.
I
and I'm
figured
like,
you'd figure it out.
I didn't,
Oh.
and I was like,
I was wrong
she's-
again.
Yeah, she was like, "What's that? And what's that for?" I don't know. He just
It's
sends me
just
random
another
shit.
weirdo on my show.
Yeah, he's coming on the show. What do you do? He robbed some banks. Like, oh, these bank robbers.
The worst.
To make for good podcasts.
I hope.
I was gonna say. I told Jess. I said, listen. I said we got a whole series on bank robbers. We got a whole playlist of just one bank. I said, listen. I said in a few years from now, we're gonna have like 20 of them. You could just watch nothing
Nothing but
video.
bank robbers. Yeah. Yeah.
Then Colby needs to take all 20 hours of them and compile, and then go through and edit the crap out of them.
Strictly bank robbing
yeah, like-
stories.
I think I'm the best only because I wasn't connected to so many, and I never, other than that first bank, I never had to pay back any money.
So when you were talking with your sister over the years,
Mm-hmm.
was there any information without giving like set instructions how to do it, like anything that she told you that gave you the confidence to say like I can definitely pull this off or this is doable?
No, I always knew both of those. I just needed to know that every time you got to $1,000, you put it in a band and lifted the drawer. I needed to know that 2 stacks of open ones are die money. I needed to know that I can feel that die pack. I needed to know where to look for the tracers. But more importantly, I knew that if I said no tracers, no die packs, they wouldn't do it. We were talking about people that are trained not to give you a hard time. I don't know why you wouldn't rob anything but a bank. The money's there, and they're told to hand it out. It's what they do. I told you, it's just a hard. It's just
great for the right. That's great for for the hook.
a robbery is just a withdrawal with hard feelings and hard stares. That's it. It's not that exciting.
What about has your sister ever been robbed? Was she ever?
I don't know. I never asked her.
Oh.
Not from 1991 back. I left Florida in 1991 after Desert Storm, after I got out. And she had never been robbed. But my sister and brother-in-law spoke to me about police patterns and how it was so unlikely that a cop would just be there during a robbery. I'll tell you what is likely is Bedford Hills taught me never trust anybody. I saw correctional officers there in their civilian clothes, and they were all armed. I never would have thought they were a correctional officer, and I would have turned my back on them in a second. And then they would have been like, got him.
Was there anything that made you decide which bank to choose and which bank to pass on?
Absolutely. It's all about location, man. The best banks are on a corner because if they don't see you leave, you got a 75% chance of getting away. Thinking about it, So location is everything. Absolutely. The one I was caught on, what you want is if you got a nice town, you want a bank right on the outskirts of that because that's where the rich people live, and then you run off in a non-populated area. So you want to hit a job in Albany. When I did the Albany job, I went up into Bern, New York. So I always would leave that area. So location is super important.
Hey, you guys, I appreciate you watching. Do me a favor, if you like the video, hit the subscribe button. Also, we're going to leave Victor's YouTube link in the description box, so you can go down to the description box, click on it. Do me a favor and consider joining our Patreon. It's $10 a month. It really does help Colby and I make these videos. What else? Oh yeah, if you want to be a guest on the show,
And get free Sonny's barbecue.
we had to get Victor Sonny's barbecue. But so if you want to be a guest, you can go in the description box and there's a link where you can one, you can email me, but the other thing is you can fill out a form where you leave. Do you want me to mention they can email me or just the form? Either or. You can go there, leave like a little video and fill out the form and we'll contact you. What else? I think that's it. Is that it? Yeah, I think that's it. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate you guys watching. See ya.